subject to being recorded. Your image and voice will be recorded. I called the meeting to order at 6:06. We need to approve our last minutes.
Those
All
were-
in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Aye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Consortium update? Have they had something?
Yes, we did. They basically went over the contract a bit and what they offer, which was kind of a summary of our meeting.
Okay.
There's going to be an in-person, which I suppose any of us could attend. I do have a date here.
Josefa is going to watch the video, if you're okay with this, as the clerk, she's going to watch the video and do minutes for us. You
Oh.
don't have to do minutes unless you want to.
Cool, yeah, she can take.
I figured,
Yeah.
especially since you were going to be out for a
Thank
little
you.
while, that you might appreciate her taking over that duty. So,
Totally, yeah, that's awesome, thank you.
yeah.
November 14th, it's a Thursday, it will be in Devon's from 1 to 3 in person. And the topics for discussion will be public meeting narrative to counter, to turn conversation positive towards affordable housing, inclusionary zoning, and the use of public lands for affordable housing are the 3 topics they plan to cover. That may change or be revised, I don't know. That was just what the popular vote was for that.
Is that the kind of thing, like if we wanna go, do we need to tell somebody, or can we just turn up? What's the,
We would probably RSVP?
is there, like, we'll be on the website, I assume?
I don't know.
Right.
Normally, don't they send something? I feel like they send emails.
Yeah.
So if I just get on their email list, I'll end
There'll
up
be
with
an
it.
email, but when I see it, I can forward it too,
Okay.
but, and we did vote on that tentative date, so, November 14th in Devon's from 1 to 3.
Yeah, and if multiple people wanna go, we can do a meeting if more than 2 wanna go, or
Yeah.
we can post a meeting.
Oh, right.
Just make sure I know and we'll
Yeah.
get it up.
I have to check my calendar to see if that's something that I can make.
What was
so.
the date of that?
The 14th of November.
Thank you.
Okay,
There is a HOPE program that I want to get some more information on in Boxborough that helps to maintain the affordable homes. So that was mentioned, and I plan to reach out to follow up a little more on that. They talked about some land court decisions for inclusionary zoning, and that was about it to pass on. And otherwise, a lot about the contracts, which we kind of met about.
yeah, and I had sent over we might as well do this now, they had summarized
Mhm.
the things that they're gonna do for us, and we need to vote to recommend having them do those things and having the money come out of the local support line item,
It was
which
like
I'm
a
assuming that's how
total
the
of 10
contract
hours.
works.
Yep. I'd
My
make
only question on that was, it said since there isn't much buildable bulk land in Berlin, I wanted to take another look at that, actually. Which was kind of contrary to our discussion last week with Tim, that there's going to be quite a bit potentially in the future. I don't know how that would change their role. Housing challenges, limited area for development, and an older skewing population. Emphasis is on keeping people in their homes. I mean, that's true, but the preface is, which is why I was a little surprised at Tim's comment last week, because during our meeting, that was the case. He was stressing that there was limited land for development, and last week he seemed to feel that we'd be having quite a bit.
I think for now that certainly works if this land becomes, I mean, I think they're still talking about the gravel pit and some other things, but those are not real things yet.
Right.
So I think this is just what they're gonna work on for us right now. And then we can certainly, we should be talking to them at least once a year to reevaluate and set goals if we're gonna continue that contract about what they're gonna do. I think one of the biggest things they do for us is the SHI.
Mhm.
But I think certainly for this year, that's probably appropriate. And then if we need to change gears or talk about them expanding into a different area, I think that's perfectly viable. This is just to make sure that, once again, we're getting value from the
Mhm.
contract.
Yeah.
And, they're doing things that are actually useful for us. So,
The keeping people in their homes, I don't know what that might specifically look like.
yeah, I think
Any
they're
thoughts?
just investigating for us to see if there are things out there to help with the,
Yeah.
with those specific problems, programs or things for rehab, or, you know, it's up to them, it's not up to us to find those things, it's up to us to say, we have this problem, how can you help us with this, and then they go pursue that for us. So, I think that's kind of what that's about, is they recognize that this is an issue for our community and communities in general, so it's something that they can use their resources to see if they can find us things that might be helpful here.
Yeah, I think that what they have written for what you sent out looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Right, somebody wanna make a motion?
I move that
Mhm.
we support it.
Yep,
Okay, all in favor?
Sure.
Aye.
Yeah.
yep,
Okay.
Yay.
Alright. CMRPC update, I've had Jasipa pretty busy this week. She's going to start doing the minutes. She's going to do a lot more sort of administrative stuff for us. I had her in, there was a lot of stuff when we went through, some of the things in the town clerk's office. All the Northbrook Village stuff, all the housing partnership stuff, she's been going through that. She's working on filing it and scanning it so that we can all look at it, should we
Awesome.
need to, or
Right.
should folks
Future
need to.
use, yep, good.
That's excellent.
So she was about halfway through that as of Monday. We have Housing Trust on the thing there, we have our own Google, account and email, so all that stuff will reside there. I'll get you guys the information on how to access that, this week, but I wanted to, before I started throwing things at you, I wanted to let you know we had done it. She has a contact we're working on setting up a meeting with, who has just gone through the process of setting up the financials for the housing trust. So we're in the process of setting up that meeting with the financial team here so that we can get that moving forward, cause, our treasurer wasn't familiar with that process.
Yep.
So we need to find her a resource to help. I just sent over something about, that they had sent a while back, which I thought I had sent already, but hadn't, about the MOU. There were just a couple more changes.
Mhm.
I think it was just the numbers and some other things. I looked again, but they don't show up on my iPad, so I can't remember exactly what was in it.
Mhm.
So maybe the next time we can sort of get that consolidated so that we can have something maybe to send over to legal,
Yeah,
for
I
them to
just
look
saw
at.
that. I didn't really.
Yeah, no, I didn't expect you to, I looked at it, I'm like, I didn't send this. I will send this now when I'm thinking of it, and then we will discuss it in depth
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to think what else. She did have a bit of a flow chart thing. She has somebody who's gonna, on their team, who she's gonna do the website stuff with, so hopefully she'll take over that bit. Yeah.
Good.
anybody go to any other meetings or any other updates? I just mentioned the trust financial setup.
Hmm?
We're getting there, it's just because they haven't, I mean, most of the trusts we have have been around for eons.
Mhm.
Folks just don't remember how to do that. I haven't gotten anything about affordable homes for sale
Hmm.
recently.
I know the new owner of 9 Village Lane did move into the house, so.
Excellent,
They're now
okay.
there. and-
So that has,
That
I
one's-
hadn't heard that it had closed.
Yeah, so not, this is, sorry, not 9, 29.
Tw- so
29.
29, I
New
knew about
purchase moved to
them.
the 29, yes, sorry.
Okay.
9 is still where, who knows where 9 is at.
Okay.
Sorry, I
But one of
confused the
them
two.
is settled.
Yes.
Yes, one is, okay, good. I did not make it to the CPA meeting, I was on vacation.
Okay. If you want, when you can't make it, we
I
can
can
set
totally,
we can
yes.
set an alternate.
I had
or
thought I
send
was gonna
somebody
be able
else.
to make it, but
Yeah,
I
no
was-
worries,
it was-
especially at this point, you can't vote, you're just watching.
Exactly,
Just-
yeah.
Yeah. I think the town meeting is looking like it's gonna be December 9th.
Okay.
And
Yeah, we voted a while ago on the date, yeah.
that will be on the warrant, I believe.
Mhm.
okay.
You
and-
need to make sure it hits the warrant. Or at least, making sure that the seat on CPA committee
Goes
Yeah.
From the
goes
housing
to your,
partnership to the housing trust.
And
especially
that's
since the partnership is dissolved.
December
9th. Yeah,
And
we
we
should be
had-
opening the warrant soon on that.
We had already written that up for last time, right?
Yeah,
And
there
it should be
should
sitting
be.
on somebody's desk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so we don't actually need to,
Yep.
we don't have anything else to
Yeah.
prepare.
At this point, I don't think so.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be us who brought it forward either.
Right.
And it's, for the last couple of years, there is a document the select board has of when something's supposed to go for town meeting to put it on there, so when we get to setting warrants, we don't have to remember if, oh, we talked to someone about doing something, didn't we?
In terms of the majority vote versus 2/3 article,
Mhm.
I feel like that's a planning board item. I don't see that we would be appropriately bringing that before town meeting. I think that's a zoning planning issue.
That was simply something, like I said at the time, that was something that legal brought up, when Tim Wheeler and I were both on the call, so he is aware of that one as the planning representative. I put it over there because legal recommended that might be something we wish to pursue. So, however that goes forward is fine, it's just, it was something legal recommended, so I put it
Yeah.
over to the select board. That isn't something that the
And
housing
I'm
trust
not
would
going
do.
to either last two select.
Oh,
board
yeah,
meetings, so-
Yeah.
so it's select board now.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, like I said, I passed that over to them. And if planning needs to get involved, or if you don't wanna bring it forward, or
Mhm.
whatever, but I passed on legal's advice.
Mhm.
So, I did attend the Massachusetts Housing Partnership training that went over what was in the housing bond bill, including, a fair amount of discussion. The discussion was primarily the,
ADUs?
ADUs. And Tim was at that meeting too. So, and had, got a little more clarity on our ability as a town. Most of the conversation was focused on more urban
Mhm.
areas, and so we got some clarity on our ability to still limit what's on a parcel, based on the carrying capacity of the septic and well that are already in place. So we have a lot of flexibility. It's not like people are gonna be able to, that any single family unit is gonna be able to be like, yep, let's put up,
Yeah.
let's put up an ADU. So, but figuring out what those rules are is very obviously not us.
I was approached about whether or not it makes sense to have select board, us, ZBA, and planning all just in a joint meeting to talk about ADUs and what the town's sort of response and direction should go. Since likely all four groups will have some say in it, that if we are at different odds, I think in some respects, to make sure that if something goes in front of the town meeting, that
Or
one of
all
those four
supporting
boards
it.
doesn't say, no, this is horrible, when
Right.
the others are saying yes, you know.
Or
Yeah.
whoever put something in front,
Right.
we've all had eyes on it
Right,
before it gets
a-
there.
which means that whatever they're putting forward is more likely to pass if all the people who like are really in the weeds about this stuff understand what's going on and can say in public, oh yes, this is good for these reasons,
Yeah.
or yes, it's messy, but if we don't do it, it gets this much more messier, fast.
Yeah.
I don't know whether or not we can pull something together for fall town meeting though, because again, warrant's gonna close relatively, or open and close relatively soon. And I think all of us are still digesting everything. I've just begun to start sort of watching some of the videos of some of those meetings and.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think even with the bond bill, there are still some questions about how that's gonna play out
Mhm.
exactly.
Right, yeah, we are waiting for more guidance, and the big takeaway seems to be, as long as the ZBA doesn't prevent somebody
Mhm.
from doing an ADU, but but the longer gap, obviously, if we don't put restrictions
Right.
on,
Right, people are gonna start putting them together.
people are gonna start asking for things that we can't prohibit
Right.
until we have those rules in
Right,
place.
right.
It's also, I think, sometimes difficult to bring those forth to a fall town meeting.
Right.
You almost have to wait for spring.
Yeah.
I think some of it was worried that they knew neighbors who are now, like, who have looked at things, are like gonna quickly try to get things done before the town has a chance to put any rules into place. But let's say
Yeah.
4 of them happen in town, I mean, I don't
Right,
think we're
yeah.
talking, I don't think we're talking about hundreds of people, we're not
Well,
talking about a
I
big
wonder
developer
too
either.
if maybe a pause.
Yeah.
For fall.
Yeah.
Put in, I don't know if that's possible, if
Right.
we're planning to put in a pause while we sort.
Right. And I think at least,
That's an
I
interesting
think one
idea.
of the examples the person gave me, I think is someone who has always had an ADU that's sort of under the radar, and they're now just bringing up, so it's not even adding a population to town, it's like, you know.
But like you said,
We've said our garage is a garage, but really it's had a bathroom and a bedroom and a kitchen in it for 10 years.
And now that we wanna sell,
Right,
we wanna
right.
be able
Right, we wanna be able
to
to-
list it
Yeah.
appropriately.
But how many would that be? And
Again.
it's still limited
Right.
by Board of Health.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's still under review
Yep, yep.
regardless.
Okay. I might bring to select board that same sort of, you know, maybe we all want to try to have a meeting together just to make sure we're on the same page of things, and
Yeah.
I can email Tim too to say that.
Okay. Down payment program, we sort of covered that a little bit, getting the financial mechanisms into place, getting the MOU solid so that we can take it to legal, are the next steps. Community build, we have our field trip this weekend. I had to go with the date, I'm sorry, I had to go with the date where most people were available, so that is the 28th, I
Mhm.
believe we have a meeting in for it. We'll meet here at 1 and probably group into 1 or 2 cars or whatever works. And I thought maybe we'd go by the Legion Hall also, though it looks like we cannot go in it because, is there a mold issue? Cause that wasn't clear in the email that I received. There is an issue of some sort where
Yes.
we can't go in the building, so that makes me question whether the building itself is viable,
Yeah.
but not knowing the details, I really can't.
There was a mold issue, from my limited understanding, there was a mold issue, that we paid money to resolve the mold issue, but because we didn't fix, like, you know, ventilation and other stuff in it, mold issues returned. It was a surprise to me when I was talking about it, they're like, oh yeah, we can't use that building, cause it's like, what do you mean it's, my memory's failing. I thought the select board talked about what we thought the future of Legion Hall might be, cause we were going through the town properties, you know, which ones we might want to do things with. And I thought the idea of moving it or turning it into some sort of housing stuff is at least on the list of possibilities.
And
Um,
Carolyn Reed, Kristen had asked me to send that over, Carolyn Reed they are potentially interested.
Okay,
Oh, really? And
Yeah, I
something
thought
that
you were
wouldn't
on
be new
that, but you may
construction?
not have got that. They weren't, we weren't sure in what capacity, but they did say that footprint was the correct size and so she was gonna send it over to their acquisitions people to see what they thought. But that could potentially, we know that you could build
Right.
something of that size on that space, or potentially rehab that into a home because it's already there.
It'd be awesome to be
Right.
able to
Already
rehab
there.
something
Right,
that
right.
exists, I mean,
It would.
that's ideal.
And that, I mean, that depends, like, certainly, I would think if there's mold or whatever involved, that once
Yeah.
again, the trust would wanna step in before we handed something like that
Right.
over
Yeah.
to Habitat.
Which is the Legion building? Is it on 62? Like,
It's actually a little bit off the road.
okay.
It's also the old West School, so
Okay.
it's not as old as I thought it was. But it's a sort of an old school
Still.
building.
Got it.
It's like
Um,
100, is it?
I thought it was near 100. Someone was telling me it was the 40s and 50s, and I didn't think that's true.
I thought
So-
when I read the thing that it was older than that,
Yeah.
maybe not.
I originally
it
thought it was like
struck me as
1800
like-
something, so it's not 1800s something,
Yeah.
but it could be early 1900s.
It struck me as like the one building that we had that might have some sort of historical charm. to
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
of
it is,
the-
yeah.
Is it on 62 though? Or is
Uh,
it, where
I
is it
forget that
located? Yeah.
near Five Corners.
Okay.
There's like a block off, if you go to either Clinton, it's could either be a left or right where they would sort of meet, and there's
Yeah.
a little tiny white building back there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
kinda counting on Carolyn's taking us to, on the
Is that
field trip,
Lincoln
so.
Road? Is it?
Yeah, I forget the
Okay.
name of the road. I've only driven by it a couple of times.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
she
but
knows
even if,
where
even if we
everything
can't
is.
go in,
Right.
maybe
Yeah,
just
and
looking
then-
at the land and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Then everybody will know where it
Right.
is, and
When's the last time it was used?
they used to, even when I was on the board, I
Yeah.
think they were using it for Legion meetings.
Yeah, Legion meetings were there
so-
up until not too far in the past.
So it.
I think,
it's-
5 years?
yeah, no, I think COVID might have been what sort of stopped the meetings.
Stopped the meeting.
And then because things happened when the building was sitting empty, they've
Yeah.
not really gone back to it, and there is some,
And there were some
at one
cracking
point,
and
there's some,
different things.
well, there's also some lack of clarity about whether or not the Legion still wants to continue to use it or not. They don't have a lot of energy, the building's not in great shape, but but it has a chunk of charm to it. I think it would make a great small house for someone, especially, but again, if it had the envelope fixed and some, regular care, because again, it gets into problems because it sits 6 or 8 months
Yeah,
later
old
than looking at it.
Most
properties
houses
need-
will,
Right.
Yeah. So, existing well and septic,
mhm.
or it's probably got
Should,
old
yeah.
septic.
But could
It's
be a
certainly
fun.
That'd be cool,
interesting.
right?
But
Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely.
Yeah.
Interesting,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
not on the ledge, not on.
Right. And it already exists, the
Doesn't
neighbors
have
that
a
can't
restriction
have,
on it.
can't think so who owns it, actually?
Oh.
It is the town,
Yeah,
and it was
definitely.
used, just.
Yeah,
and
it's
it
a
was
town building, town land. that we-
Used by
yep,
the
yep,
Legion,
yep.
okay,
Mhm.
okay, but not technically tax title not technically tax title?
Not owned by the town.
Because it's owned by the
Yeah,
town.
yeah, it's been
okay.
on, it used to be a school.
Right.
So like a school
Yeah.
land is on town land and town building. When schools stopped using it, we built this building. It's been used for other town activities since.
Okay.
Yeah, if any of you have time, it's interesting, they did a facility study of all the buildings in town. And it's up on the web, is it under the select board, that facility study? I think it is, right?
I don't know where they put it on the website. We
I
pushed
think
to put
it's
it on
under the
website.
select board, but it's interesting to look, because we do have, and the housing trust may come into play in some of these others too, because you have, an old highway barn and an old fire
Right.
hall, and right
Yep.
now, they aren't serving a purpose
Yep.
and they're falling apart,
Yep.
so, at some point, decisions have to be made about
The
where to
select
go
board
with
is leaning
that.
towards, cause we've taken votes on this, I can say these, the old fire barn and the old ambulance barn sort of in 62, we think ultimately need to come down to put in a driveway so that the fire trucks can go right onto 62 and get to other parts of town faster.
Okay.
I think we're looking for better uses potentially of the town. I don't think, actually, the old highway barn we've not come to an agreement on, although that's a nice
has-
building that has uses for it, but whether it's town uses or uses as something we could sell.
And
The
it
Brown
has-
barn on South Common, we were already actively trying to tear down, and are getting quotes now and gonna use ARPA money. The idea of tearing down that brown barn and then paving the parking lot and putting in some handicapped accessible parking spots and pave something that can get people in wheelchairs or other mobility issues onto the pickleball courts and the basketball courts, and just make it a better, nice, I mean, the barn looks not great if you're just trying to do this nice vista view of the school and the pond in South Common as a whole.
Mhm.
And I think we're still, like, we only hit buildings where the three of us generally agreed on what to do. We've not really had
Not
a big
gone
debate
back
on the
into that.
buildings where we don't necessarily have agreement on what to do.
Yeah. But we just have a whole lot of stuff that
Yep.
is not serving a purpose right now, and having it sit there and fall apart is probably not
Right.
ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be less valuable 5 years from now and more expensive to repair 5 years from now, or, yeah.
And yeah, all the cost and what they
Yeah.
recommended is in these reports, and so
Fun.
they're interesting.
And you could argue with little points here and there, but the general, this building's in great shape, this building's in mediocre shape, this building's in horrible shape, this building's being underutilized, you know, and then there's a lot of factual stuff. It's this big, it was built in this day. I thought it's a good document for what's going on in the town, or what the town owns for buildings.
Okay. I think that's,
Yeah.
does
you hit the
anybody
other-
have anything else?
Mm-mm.
No?
No, the only thing on my list was the ADU stuff that we got under sort of your report, since I promised the person who talked to me that I would bring it up.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea.
But then getting
Yeah, oh, yeah.
just a subgroup with representation from all those things together would be really good, I think.
Do we have any, information on Allen Road or Gates Pond, anything else since we talked?
Not anything further. I did send over just the Allen Road plot, the correct one, to Carolyn, so she could review it before we go, or pull it up on her magic GIS or whatever she's using.
That was so
That
good.
one, right? Tim is also in love with GIS. So, and if we can go, I'm pretty sure I had them look at Gates Pond, or before I had building and assessors look at Gates Pond. I don't think I had them look at Allen Road. I cannot remember why. I need to start noting on each of these specific properties as they, like, I felt like there was something that was wrong with that, or, but maybe that just fell under the radar. You said Baker Road had issues, right?
It looks like, I mean, it's got drainage easements along the border and ledge outcrops throughout, so,
Just a mess.
yeah,
Yeah.
like Tim was right, ledge. I had seen the drainage, but it is technically an easement. There were other easements, telecommunications, which I don't know if they still exist, but yeah, I don't think there's much room there for anything.
All right. If that is it then, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Look at that, we were actually kinda chatty.
I know.
We
We're
were-
still at 30 minutes.
I know.
30 minutes.
Right?
Best
That's
meetings
good.
Oh my
ever.
gosh.
And so our
I might
next.
clean
meeting-
up for the common meal that starts at 6:45, and I'm
Oh,
like,
perfect.
I'm gonna be there on time.
No
don't worry."
problem, no problem.
This is
We
Housing
can do
Trust.
that.
And so October 23rd, so you are unlikely to be with us.
Probably.
Oh.
Yep, probably. And we'll just see if is she gonna watch this meeting?
I think
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
yep.
And she can always reach out to me